If there is simply anything that Donald Trump has shown us, is that nothing matters. Absolutely nothing. He can lie, mock people based on their looks, say whatever iniquitous remark he wants, mock people with disabilities, fill his entire cabinet with anti-choice, fossil fuel, big pharma, big business elitist like himself, raise taxes on working families while obliterating taxes for the rich, install the worst policies imaginable. Saying that Haitian immigrants are eating pets, which first of all is completely false and untrue. And he also said that they are coming from Colombia. That's what Trump said himself. When their literal demonym implies where they are coming from, the country Haiti. That's why they're called Haitians, not Haitian, where J.D. Vance thinks that they're coming from, which is not even a real country, etc. And still, he manages to get half of the country's support. He's done this before. It's an internal loop, and it's never going to get better. But not for long, hopefully, because Donald Trump has recently said that he has no plans on running again in 2028 if he loses this upcoming election, which he'll say that he won if he gets trounced anyways. But again, let's just take this with a grain of salt, because nearly everything he says as of now is just a bull-faced lying pile of shit. But on the feasibility that it may be true, there you have another reason to vote for Kamala Harris, so we don't have to hear another word from this piece of scum again, hopefully. Look, guys, the bar could not be lower. Not only is his character unethical and unimaginably despicable, but his policies that Republicans say that we need to talk more about are even worse. I'm sure that you have not heard yet that Donald Trump wants a whopping 200% tariff on John Deere.
As you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States, so that if I win, John Deere is going to be paying a 200%. They haven't started it yet. Maybe they haven't even made the final decision yet, but I think they have. John Deere is going to, and anybody else that does this, but if they're going to do that, we're going to put a 200% tariff on everything that they want to send back into the United States, which means one of two things. Our country is going to make a lot of money, or they're not going to build, they're not going to open, and or they're going to sell it to another country. They're entitled to do that.
Which is going to bankrupt the additional farmers that weren't already screwed during Trump's first term, when, just to name a few, he eliminated the rural development as a federal mission. He proposed cuts to rural investments when he sided to agribusinesses against independent farmers. He sacrificed a small and medium farms during his trade wars, which, speaking of, you have seen nothing yet. He wants more trade wars with the countries that we rely on for our outsourcing. He wants a 60% tariff on China, which literally China constitutes 53% of our total imports in the United States. Therefore, we are going to literally have a shortage on essential goods, meaning less supply and higher demand, aka higher prices for all of us, based on his economic proposals. This simply isn't even including the 20% tariffs that he wants on every other country, excluding China. So basically, he wants to raise prices on everything for us, but then hide behind the statement saying, well, it's actually going to hurt other countries and help us. But that's not how tariffs work. Even top economists have said that Donald Trump's plan for a second term will result in a recession.
I've spoken with some economists about your proposal for tariffs, and they say they don't see how it will not make items cost more in the United States.
They'll approve it. They'll approve it. And number one, I don't need them. I don't need Congress, but they'll approve it.
Huh?
I'll have the right to impose them myself if they don't. I'd rather get their support. The ones that understand business all support it.
It will add an additional near $6 trillion in debt over his 4 years. And you know what? They actually underestimated him the last time, those 4 years that he already had in the White House, when they expected just $2 trillion to have been added to the national deficit in his first term, when it actually ended up being $8 trillion. But let's hammer down on what this will look like. Let's take a quick glance of some of the products that we depend on from other countries that Trump wants an all across the board sales tax on. First up, we got fruits and vegetables, with 41% of them being sold in the United States have been imported from other countries. 80% of oil and petroleum is as well. 48% of vehicles are, 90% with prescription drugs, 98% of clothing, 100% of smartphones, 90 to 95% of computers, 90% of televisions, 50% of vaccines, including those for curable diseases, 100% of coffee beans, 30% of medical equipment, 70% for school supplies, 37% for furniture, 90% for seafood, 24% for candy. Just wait till the kids find out that Trump wants to essentially take away their candy. Almost all cocoa beans and 80% of toys. These are just some of the products that will be more expensive under a second Donald Trump term. And look, guys, this isn't even touching on the hardship he will cause on all of our social issues through his Project 2025 and pure executive authority that he wants to solely give to himself. And it would be shameful if I had failed to mention that America actually had a net loss of 3 million jobs under the Trump presidency. The unemployment rate was up by 6.4%. Crime went up and marked about 400 violent crimes per 100,000 people, which, in case you don't know, that's a lot. Home prices soared by 27%. Manufacturing plants all over the country, like the Carrier plant, for example, in Indianapolis or Lordstown, have shut down and offshored during his tenure. Probably has something to do with his 2017 tax plan that was prioritized to only be lucrative and propitious to the rich and big corporations, incentivized manufacturing industries to ship manufacturing outlets overseas. This isn't even pointing out his abysmal foreign relation handlings. Just yesterday, Trump had an unnecessary meeting with the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, where Trump was faced with this painfully mortifying moment when Zelensky actually confronted Trump for wanting to surrender Ukraine to Russia, which would potentially spark World War III.
We have a very good relationship. And I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin.
Who is an autocratic dictator, by the way.
And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango, you know.
After surrounding and invading other countries that we are allies with, like NATO countries. His cult and himself say that we had no new wars under him. When number one, how is a president of the United States supposed to have any say over an authoritarian country invading another country? And number two is just false. Drone strikes increased by 432% under his administration. He kept us in Iran after promising that he would end the war during his 2016 presidential campaign. The same thing goes with Afghanistan, and which is one of the many broken promises he made. He bombed Syria and occupied 1/3 of Syria to, quote, take the oil from them. He assassinated the Iranian commander who was helping to fight ISIS. He armed Saudi Arabia as they were committing genocide in Yemen and vetoed the proposed bill that would have cut weapons to Saudi Arabia. He said verbally that he wants to start a war in Mexico in a second term, according to his own words, and has said that Biden is not supporting Israel strong enough and wants to aid them more money and weapons so they can, quote, finish the job. He also, not to mention, is just so unhooked from reality, and his cognitive dissonance is growing. The guy just said the other day that rising sea levels is a good thing because there will be more beachfront property.
And when I hear these people talking about global warming, that's the global warming you have to worry about, not that the ocean's going to rise in 400 years 1/8 of an inch. And you'll have more seafront property, right, if that happens. I said, is that good or bad? I said, isn't that a good thing? If I have a little property on the ocean, I have a little bit more property. I have a little bit more ocean.
Spare me. This guy is the worst president we have ever had by far, but somehow he manages to find all new ways to get even worse as time passes. This is by far, and I know you hear it in every election, but it is actually the truth this time. This is by far the most crucial and preeminent election of our lifetimes. Get out, reject Donald Trump, reject the MAGA movement, and reject Trumpism by voting for Kamala Harris.
You can kind of see why Donald Trump's not telling the truth. Because if he tells the truth, he doesn't get a damn vote.